In the video today, we're going to take a look at subsidized loans. This is part of the financial aid information that you will be receiving today, or that you have received today. Now, since financial aid, the amount that you get mostly depends on individual circumstances, and there's a lot of factors in that. You're going to go ahead and calculate how much financial aid you would get in the beyond portion of today's lesson. It is completely individualized. You would need the help of your parent or guardian to help fill out that form. So we're going to take a look at one of the options that financial aid offers, which is subsidized loans. Now, subsidized loans are fixed interest rate loans offered by the federal government in which the government pays interest while student is in school. So as long as you are enrolled at least half time in school, the government will pay your interest so that by the time you graduate college, you haven't actually accrued any interest or accumulated any interest. You're starting off with the exact amount that you borrowed. Okay, so if you borrowed $3,000, then by the time you graduate school, you're starting to pay only $3,000. Unsubsidized loans, on the other hand, they work differently. You do start to earn interest as soon as you borrow. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to take a look at how much money the government is saving you by taking care of your interest payments up until you graduate. Okay, now remember, if you were paying this interest, the interest is charged monthly. It is compounded monthly. So remember way back when we were working on exponential functions, and one of the applications was compound interest. So we're going to take that information and apply it here. Okay, now this is being compounded monthly. So remember the formula for compound interest. Okay, this is the formula for compound interest. And as a reminder, I'm going to go ahead and identify these variables here. So A represents the amount of money that you owe. Okay, A is going to be the amount of money that you owe after some time with the given interest. Now P stands for the principal amount. The principal amount is the amount that you borrowed to begin with. It is the initial amount, the initial investment. R is your interest rate, which again, it's going to be presented as a percentage, which you would then convert to a decimal to be able to work within the problem. N stands for the number of times that this interest rate is compounded per year. Remember that it can be compounded annually, which means only one time. It can be compounded quarterly, which means 4 times a year. Or in our case, it's going to be compounded monthly. They're monthly payments, so it's going to be compounded 12 times total for a whole year. And lastly, T stands for the time in years. Okay, so that's what these variables represent within this equation. So let's take a look at an example. Let's assume that I borrow $7,000 to pay for school. Okay. and the interest rate that I borrow this at is fixed at a 4.29%. Now, fixed means the variable does not change. There are some loans out there where the interest rate fluctuates over time. It can go up, it can go down, it never remains the same. There are loans, mostly subsidized loans, are fixed rates. They remain at this amount. Okay. So let's assume the question is that you're paying interest. Okay, let's assume this is not a subsidized loan, that the government is not paying your interest. You actually do have to pay it. So after 4 years in college, which is the normal amount, it could be more, it could be less for you, depends on your career choices. After 4 years, how much would I pay total for this loan? So we're going to use our formula up here, okay, and we're going to identify what our given information is. We know that the initial amount that I borrowed is $7,000. So that is my P. Okay, the interest rate, which is R, is 4.29%, which again, remember we have to change this to a decimal. Okay, so that would be our rate. We know our time, right? The question says after 4 years. Okay, and we do know N. We know that interest rate for loans, they're compounded every month. So if they're compounded every month, that means that in 1 year, they will be compounded 12 times. Now I have every single variable covered except A, which is the amount that I would owe. And this is what we're actually looking for. So A is our unknown. That's what we're trying to find. So I'm going to plug in everything that I know into my equation here. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify the problem to see what I get. Okay, so now I've plugged in everything I know, and now I'm going to just use my calculator to simplify this whole expression. Now be careful, use order of operations to complete this problem. Okay, you have to take care of what's inside the parentheses first, and then the exponent, and then the product here. Okay. Also be careful not to round your values as much. You want to round only until the end. So make sure that you're not rounding until the very end when you have your final solution. It will give you the most accurate amount. Okay, and I get a total of 8,307.88. So this is what I would have had to pay with all the interest that I have accumulated over 4 years. But because this is a subsidized loan, I'm not actually paying this interest. So let's find out how much money I'm actually saving by getting a subsidized loan. I would have had to pay this amount here. I would have had to pay this amount. But because the government is paying my interest, once I graduate, I'm only expected at that point to pay $7,000. After I graduate and I start accumulating that interest, then this will start going up. But if I have saved money somehow, I can probably just pay off this much and never even have to pay interest. That's the benefit of these types of loans. Okay, my total here is $1,307.88. So this is how much money I saved by taking out a subsidized loan. This is the money that I don't have to pay, that the government has paid for me. Okay, so these are one of the options in the financial aid packages that are offered. It is a need-based loan, so you would have to have a financial need for it, but it is available to most students.